Now Ian, you're one of the company experts on Bluetongue. Let's just recap on one or two of the fundamentals if we may. First of all, any animal, any cow that had 2 doses last time needs only 1 dose this time, does it?
Yes, that's right, Peter. If cattle had a full 2 injections last year, all they'll need this year is a single booster to keep them immune for another 12 months.
And are people aware of the fact that there might be differences between the vaccines? I believe there are 3 different makes on the market, and there are slight differences between them. For instance, 2 are subcutaneous and 1 is intramuscular.
With 3 vaccines on the market now, producers need to be aware of the differences in them. As you've highlighted, some can be given under the skin subcutaneously and others into the muscle. The other difference is the age at which you can start vaccinating. Bovolus BTV8 can be used from 1 month of age, which is important if you're trying to get the young stock vaccinated before they go out. Other vaccines are licensed from either the same time or a slightly different age, and the producers should look carefully at the data sheet.
Well, this year's vaccination is just a booster for last year, presumably. So does it matter the make of the product this year is any different to that was used last year?
Well, there are subtle differences between the vaccines, in which case you should ideally boost with the same vaccine you used last year. However, if you are going to choose a different brand, it does make a difference as to which brand you are swapping to. So you need to speak to your vet and look at the data sheet.
Whichever vaccine is used, how long does the immunity last for?
It lasts for 12 months. However, this year you should look at maybe vaccinating within that 12-month period, because you vaccinated last year when the vaccine was available, and that's when the midge was circulating and potentially spreading the virus. This year we have the advantage of vaccine being available throughout the year, and so you should be looking at vaccinating before the temperature starts to get above 14 degrees, when the midge will start flying, multiplying and spreading the virus. So it's ideal that even if you vaccinated late last year, that you actively choose to vaccinate earlier this year when the animals are either still in and or the temperature is below 14 degrees.
Now, one of the common problems farmers face is that you're not supposed to use this vaccine with other vaccine programs that you may be using, IBR or whatever. Now, we just heard from Andrew this morning that that does present difficulties on some farms. So what's the company advice on this?
Until we've done specific work and until it's on the license, we can't recommend it's used at the same time as any other vaccine. However, because we've had a very particular situation last year of trying to control the disease in a very short period of time, we are recommending that farmers speak to their vets to get specific advice to fit into their own farm protocol for the other treatments they may be using during that period.
Okay, well, one of the big problems with many farmers is the fact that they want to vaccinate for lungworm this year. Now, if they got young calves last year which didn't have any vaccination because they were for Bluetongue because they were too young, and they come through as first turnout sturks this year when they need the 2 Bluetongue vaccines plus 2 lungworm vaccines, that creates a bit of a problem, doesn't it?
That's a good example of when the farmer should go and speak to their vet to get specific advice about those particular vaccines. However, you do want to give those lungworm vaccines soon prior to turnout, whereas the Bluetongue could be given well before that, and that's another example of careful planning can ensure that you can get all the vaccines in at the right time without them interfering with each other.
Now, one of the more worrying things you've been telling me is that you're aware of the possibility of subclinical cases occurring, which producers may not recognise that they've got on farm. Just tell me a bit about that, would you?
That's right. The Dutch have reported that farmers were initially coming to them and saying they're getting a little bit more of everything, such as a little bit more mastitis. They're seeing a few more lame cows. They may be seeing a little bit more whites than they were expecting. And when these cases were investigated, they actually found that the underlying cause was actually Bluetongue. And it may be that it's running concurrently with other diseases. On top of that, we have this added complication of pregnant animals possibly passing the virus onto their onto their unborn offspring, which means that even if they have mild signs, you don't know if their unborn calves will actually be carrying the virus and continuing that spread. So if some farmers may feel that I can live with mild clinical signs if it doesn't really affect me too much. However, if you are just looking at clinical signs, you're not seeing the full picture of the potential damage to their next year's crop. The other work that's been done is looking at fertility, and there's been ram and bull fertility has been shown to be reduced up to 160 days after infection, which obviously that has another knock-on effect for next year's calf and production.
Well, that's principally Bluetongue 8 serotype. Now, the other two which are knocking on our door effectively is 1 and 6, which are certainly rampaging across the continent there. Why hasn't a company like yours developed a combined vaccine for these other strains?
We're always looking at developing new vaccines. We brought Bovolus BTV8 into the marketplace within less than 2 years. Normal timeline for bringing a vaccine to the market can be anything between 5 and 10 years. And so that was brought forward because we understood the emergency of it and we put an awful lot of resource behind it. And we're also now continuing to look at other serotypes to bring those into the marketplace.
And certainly when Sam was speaking to us earlier on, he was desperate to get his hands on the vaccine one because he's obviously got a big investment here which is to protect.
Yeah, and we understand that. And we're working with the authorities and our own research and development to look at bringing a new vaccine with a new serotype onto the marketplace as quickly as possible. But we have to be aware that 1 and 8 came from nowhere, and so speculating as to what other potential serotypes might be coming in is difficult for a manufacturing system when you're looking at a lead time of up to 5 years.
And do you, in your heart of hearts, think we'll see 1 or 6 over here this year?
I hope we don't. I think we are at risk. We are reliant a lot on how the French vaccinate and control the virus. And so advice to farmers would be, even if you vaccinated against 8, which is the one we can control, it's the one we should focus on, they should still be vigilant and be aware of the clinical signs. So if 1 were to come over, we would be aware of it as soon as it came.
Okay, thanks Ian. Now we've heard from the experts and it's pretty clear that the threat from Bluetongue is as great as ever. And what with subclinical cases, maternal transmission and the new serotypes knocking on our door, it's vitally important that we all play our part in making sure the scourge doesn't get a foothold in this country.